Hello, and welcome to the Mohit Show, General News, March 24th, 2021. I will be covering a few notable stories of the day. First, from CNBC, 60 of the largest banks in the world have invested $3.8 trillion in fossil fuels since the Paris Agreement. This is just a further example of how those agreements did not achieve their intended result. Next, from Sky News in Myanmar, the military coup is continuing to be brutal. A 7-year-old was shot in the lap of her father by their own military forces. Countries around the world are hesitant to even properly condemn these actions. Next, from the BBC, a coronavirus variant with 2 mutations has been discovered in India. This is another example of how the coronavirus is mutating extremely fast. The South African strain is already resistant to the AstraZeneca vaccine. Next, from NBC, the Biden administration has created sanctions on 2 more individuals for involvement in the Uyghur ethnic minority genocide being perpetrated by the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP. These do not nearly approach what is needed. We should not be doing business with a country that is committing genocide, even if we receive a pay cut. A lot of low-cost manufacturing has already moved to Southeast Asia and India, and those regions can supply our demand with only a few hiccups along the way if we simply move production there. With our current attitude towards countries like Nazi Germany, and with how so many people swore that nothing like the Holocaust would ever happen again, I'm surprised with how greedy people are being in favor of a brutal genocide. China Uncensored, another channel on YouTube, did an interview with an individual who was raped in the prison camps in China. It will be linked. Next, from today's daily news. A tragic story from Iran. A woman was accused of murdering her abusive husband. It is believed that her husband was murdered by her father instead. Her daughter was not willing to forgive this woman, nor was she willing to accept blood money or diya for it by Iranian law. Thus, by Iranian law, the daughter hung this woman, her mother, to death. This is what Sharia law is. Be careful. Next, from International Business Times. Australia seems to be facing a deadly spider plague after their historic floods. It seems that nature is not being kind to Australia during these times. These weather phenomena can be linked back to climate disturbances from global warming. Next, from the Associated Press. A cargo ship has gotten stuck blocking the Suez Canal. This has never happened before, and a significant portion of the world's trade goes through the canal. Such an action is likely to have an impact on the already strained global trade network. Next, from The Guardian. The Saudi top brass seems to be comfortable lobbing death threats against people like UN officials who look into the Khashoggi case. Saudi Arabia is further deteriorating its foreign relations. Next, from CTV. The CCP is attacking Canada's treatment of the First Nations people in response to sanctions made against the Uyghur genocide. This is a tactic the Chinese Communist Party officials have been using against the US as well. They try to point out past problems in other countries in order to deflect attention from the horrible genocide they are committing. This is a pathetically weak type of whataboutism. While Canada did have several problems with their treatment of the First Nations people, many of which continue to this day, this is no excuse for the horrific genocide being actively committed by the Chinese Communist Party. Next, from Channel News Asia. In Hong Kong, a clinic has been punished for recommending the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine over the CCP's Sinovac vaccine. This is more embarrassing cover-up of the fact that Sinovac is likely the least trustable major vaccine that one can take. Next, from the Epoch Times, Lindsey Graham has stated that he and Republicans will shut down the Senate if they are not allowed access to the facilities on the border. This is a massive problem that the mainstream media seems afraid to confront. The cages with children that were built when Biden was vice president have seen a surge of several 100% since Biden has taken office. The border is undergoing a crisis with unprecedented amounts of people attempting to illegally cross. Now, Biden's administration is trying to stop outside sources from viewing what is really happening in the camps. What an administration we live under. Finally, with this compilation from the Washington Examiner, we come to the topic of the Boulder shooting. I'm a student at CU Boulder, and though I was out of town for that day, this was quite close to me. It is unfortunate that our society is resulting in such things. I give my condolences to the victims and their loved ones. Now, I would like to admonish the media, the politicians, the celebrities, and everyone else who immediately jumped to label the shooter as white and the shooting as a case of white supremacy. The shooter was Muslim and from the Middle East. You should think about why you came to conclusions like that. Next comes the issue of gun control. The shooter was using a cheap semi-auto pistol with an arm brace. We cannot ban guns. First of all, there's the Second Amendment. It's important for multiple reasons. However, going even beyond that, it's not possible to stop criminals from getting guns if they want them. Guns are cheap and have been proliferated widely. Now with 3D printing technology making guns also extremely easy to make, this measure would just punish legal gun owners for no reason. Additionally, in moments like these, people forget that guns save lives as well. According to this article from multiple US agencies, linked below, people in the US use a gun in a defensive situation for safety anywhere from 500,000 to 3 million times each year. It also mentions that studies that directly assess the effect of actual defensive use of guns have found consistently lower injury rates among gun-using crime victims when compared with victims who used other self-protective strategies. Additionally, John Lott et al. In More Guns Less Crime wrote, "We find that allowing citizens to carry concealed weapons deters violent crimes, and it appears to produce no increase in accidental deaths." If those states which did not have the right to carry concealed gun provisions had adopted them in 1992, approximately 1,570 murders, 4,177 rapes, and over 60,000 aggravated assaults would have been avoided yearly. Additionally, more strict gun laws are not going to fix the problem. The Boulder shooter, and indeed most mass shooters, get guns that are easy or cheap, or popular. They don't need to use the scarier weapons that firearm sportsmen, gun enthusiasts, self-defense people, and gun collectors use simply because those guns are the same or less effective for mass shootings. Automatic weapons are illegal except for antique collector's items in the US, so in terms of close-range fire on multiple unarmed targets, most things are similarly effective if they're semi-auto. Anyone who sees these people using cheap weapons to commit these atrocities and then goes on to target completely unrelated gun enthusiasts is a clown. It's a completely fear-based knee-jerk reaction which simply harms rights while not solving the problem. Now, it has come to light that the FBI knew about this guy before the shooting. If you want to do anything about the problem, we could improve on focusing with the organizations which monitor such risky people and should be stopping these things. We can also target the mental health issues and other societal factors causing this. Stop pretending theatrical and pointless actions are what is moral, and that going against the theatrics is immoral. Sources are linked below. This has been the news. Thank you for watching.